Nobody would have ever expected the HBO series to become a global phenomenon. But as is usually the case, the live-action version is just a slice of the real story, and packed with cool Easter eggs most people will never realize. Share this video with your Game of Thrones addicted friends and see how many of them already know these 10 facts you never knew about Game of Thrones.
That one's yours, Snow.
Jon Snow's banner. The fact that Jon Snow is an illegitimate son of Ned Stark is driven home early, hence his last name, and bastard sons are all over the story. But one fact that didn't make the jump from book to TV show is that in this fantasy world, bastards don't get to carry the banners of their family, but they can carry ones with the colors reversed. Since the Stark sigil is a grey wolf on white, Jon Snow carries a white wolf on grey in the books. It makes his nickname as King in the North, the White Wolf, way more meaningful, and confirms that the direwolves found by the Stark sons was undeniably a message from the gods. Ramsay almost played Jon Snow. It didn't take long for audiences to absolutely despise Ramsay Bolton, but if things had worked out differently, they might have been cheering for him.
I think that sounds like a wonderful idea.
Actor Iwan Rheon originally auditioned for the part of Jon Snow, and ended up coming down to the final two choices beside Kit Harington, which makes their rivalry in Season 6 seem like a particularly personal one. George R.R. Martin had a cameo. With George R.R. Martin responsible for dreaming up this treacherous world, you would think he would have landed a part in the show himself, but his cameo actually already happened. Martin played a wealthy nobleman from Pentos at the wedding of Daenerys to Khal Drogo in the pilot episode. But when most of the pilot was later refilmed and actress Tamsin Merchant was replaced by Emilia Clarke, the entire sequence had to be cut, and the author's cameo along with it. Tywin's butchering scene was real. The noble and fearsome Tywin Lannister didn't actually appear until the show's 7th episode, but he made a memorable entrance, butchering and skinning a stag while giving his son a lecture. The scene showed he wasn't afraid of getting his hands dirty, and the same was true of the actor Charles Dance. After being shown how to butcher a stag the day before, he did it for real, on a stag just as real for the camera. He was happy with the result, but not the smell, which stayed on his hands for days. King Tommen's debut. Even for devoted fans, the arrival of Tommen Baratheon to the throne came as a surprise, or downright confusing. The reason why nobody remembered King Joffrey's innocent younger brother? Because he had already appeared on the show as Queen Cersei's first cousin Martin, who was held hostage and then murdered in Riverrun in Season 3, Episode 5. Actor Dean Charles Chapman made a good impression, and as of Season 4, replaced the much younger version of Tommen who had appeared previously.
Hello, Sansa.
The show leading the books. The current seasons of Game of Thrones have actually gotten ahead of the books, but there aren't many cases of the HBO series actually changing Martin's ideas, with one exception. The wildling named Osha had only a small role in the books, but Martin was so impressed with actress Natalia Tena, he admitted he would write her differently when she returns, making her younger and more sarcastic.
He poisoned my son.
A more Scully Cersei. The amount of British actors who were sought out or auditioned for the HBO series is too big to count, but one actress would have been familiar to the show's Comic-Con fandom. Actress Gillian Anderson of X-Files fame has said she was offered a part, but turned it down since it would have taken her away from her family. She didn't say which role, but the part of Queen Cersei Lannister is a frontrunner, along with the Red Priestess Melisandre, either of which would have given her fans some truly memorable scenes.
He was no dragon. Fire cannot kill a dragon.
Violet Eyes. The Targaryens are referred to in the TV show as dragons, descendants of ancient Valyria and therefore almost a different kind of human than the rest, or so they would like to be believed. But one of their most recognizable traits was removed from the show. Their platinum blonde hair is rare, but the purple eye color was even more so. In the books, it was a clear sign of Valyrian blood. But when the actors playing Daenerys and Viserys had trouble focusing with the violet eye contacts in place, the showrunners decided to scrap the idea entirely. The real Valyrian steel. If you had made your family into a proud House of Westeros centuries in the past, you might have even gotten a sword of Valyrian steel to immortalize it. The metal is given almost magical properties in the books and TV show, since swords of Valyrian steel never dull, never break, and are easily spotted by the flowing water pattern on its surface. It may sound like fantasy, but it's based on the real-world Damascus steel, a strong, sharp metal with the same patterns. Like Valyrian steel, the recipe for making Damascus steel was also lost in the 1700s, so no more can be made. No word on whether they would kill White Walkers just as easily, but scientists have found carbon nanotubes in the metal, so that's something. The Iron Throne. You gotta hand it to George R.R. Martin. A throne made from the swords of fallen enemies sends a powerful message. And while the throne in the books may be made from thousands, the TV version is special in its own way. For starters, it seems to include Gandalf's sword from The Lord of the Rings, as a bit of a joke on the part of the prop makers. It's not alone either, since the hero swords from Robin Hood, the Prince of Thieves, and even Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven are among the dozens visible. Who knows how many fictional kingdoms fell in the history of Westeros? Those are just a handful of the behind-the-scenes secrets and extra details from the novels that most fans will never know.